Hey, hi, and welcome. Why were human beings only born with two hands? Like, really? Ah, that's hot. That is so hot. Ow, 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 ow. Okay. Not the most safest practice. I feel like King Kong. I climb with one hand. My phone's like the little blonde girl in my hand. I'm like King Kong or whatever. But I got on top of the boat here. I'm going to open it up, air it out, maybe give it a sweep off. Oh, that is warm up here. Okay. Topic. First topic of the day. Do you get your money's worth out of your boat? Okay, let me... I did this with my motorcycle thing, and... Oh, man. That is pretty warm in here. I gotta say, that's toasty. That is toasty. Things are coming along. You just feel all the heat just vacuums out a bit. I guess I'll be sitting on this side today. Right here. Okay, so do you get your money's worth on your boat? What am I talking about? Okay, well, right now, okay, if you look at my boat, I'm in the cleanup mode. Things are coming along. It doesn't happen overnight, but it's starting to get some space again, and this boat has a lot of space in it. But, okay, when I bought this boat, I paid $10,500 for the boat, okay? I lived on this boat for approximately, as a liveaboard, you'd probably say I lived on it for 7 to 8 months as a liveaboard between two seasons. Between the two seasons, I was probably using it every second day, whatever. Where I lived in the city, depth sounder to the head. Where I lived in the city, the apartment, like there was like a hill, it went down like this, and my apartment, or I guess you'd say come down like this. My apartment building was right here, flat roof, tar on the roof. I'm on the upper floors, only 2 floors anyway, and really, really hot. Like, I mean, crazy hot. No wind all summer. No AC. My fridge would run so hot trying to keep everything cool. It would actually, the apartment would be about 45 degrees all the time. Doors wide open, one main window that we had. It was just brutal, brutal, brutal. So I'd spend most of the time on the boat. So the first thing I do get to the boat is pretty much what I did today is you open up the hatches, try to keep the sun out as much as possible, let the air cycle through, and when the sun starts going down, you can go hang out on the boat. But the rest of the day, go into a cool mall, or go out sailing with somebody, or do something like that, or even take the boat out sailing. So it was one of those things that you were constantly back and forth with the boat, so you're getting use out of it. Now, what I noticed was I was probably on my boat more than just about anybody. That said, there was people, this is kind of interesting about yacht clubs, is you got people that have boats, they put the boat in the water, and they spend almost all day either working on the boat, and then the rest of the afternoon, a lot of these guys are retired anyway, is just getting drunk with everybody at the... They never sail, they're just working on the boat all the time. And I'm that guy now, where I'm not, this boat's up home here. It's not near the closest water is the little creek, and it ain't going in there. But it's one of those things that, like, I'm in work on it mode. So that kind of, it becomes like an ongoing hobby. There is an entertainment factor in that you don't want to dismiss. But the thing is that the boat basically sits there at the dock 99.9% of the time for most people. And they spend a lot of money putting these boats in the water. And usually what happens is, you'll get this out of more experienced sailors. The bigger the boat, the less you use it. Unless you're like a full-time liveaboard. Now, there's some couples, what they would do is pretty much box up their apartment for the summer. And hang on, I got a jerk with wings in here. I got names for everything. Most people call them hornets. I call them jerks with wings. Hang on. You're about to see some extreme violence here. But anyway, that's right. You get out of my narrowboat. Be gone with you, jerks with wings. To you, this may look like just a dirty old dustpan. To me, this is an instrument of death. jerks with wings. Hornets. I get stung like 15 times a year. Anyway, for probably that very reason. Even including getting stung in the eyeball once. That was fun. Yeah, so you got all these people. They got a boat, and it was to the point where some people at the club were like, Reg, you're here all the time. Hey, can you just keep an eye on my boat, make sure it doesn't sink? Here's my number if it sinks, or if it starts taking on water, or something breaks loose or whatever. So I'd call a few people. Yeah, your boat. I tied up your lines for it. Things are starting to frail there. You might want to come and check that out. And they'd come in, and they just wouldn't use the boat at all. The most common scenario was this: guy buys boat, no money to run it. So if you don't have the money to run it, move on it, and then you're good, right? That's how I did it. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have been. This is my second boat, and it's probably not going to be my last boat. It's just I kind of look at this thing as a bit of a retirement project. So even if I haven't used it for a decade, it's still in good condition. It's bought and paid for. So get rid of it. Don't get rid of it. If somebody offered me the right money, yeah, I'd probably get rid of it and probably get out of sailing. But then if I got the right money for it, I could get a car and a really small trailable sailboat and still do that. Now, a lot of people will do that. They'll downsize just so that they'll go down to a 22-footer or something like that, or a day sailor. And it's a lot less hassle. Something that they can keep dry docked, all that stuff. But if you want a cabin cruiser like this, you're going to spend a lot of money to keep it in the water. So a boat this size at probably one of the more expensive clubs in Ottawa was about $4,000 a year back in 2008. I don't even want to know what it'd be now. I've checked out some of the marina fees. I think last year they haven't went up a lot, but they're still, it's not something you're going to do without a lot of planning and financial backing to do. So to get your money's worth out of it, if you take the boat out 10 times, you can look at it like spending $400 a sail. You use it once, it's like $4,000 for the sailing experience. Use it 100 times, it's like $40 a sail, right? So the thing is about that is that how you use things, like for some people, using it once a year is fine. Some people, they don't use it enough. And a lot of people, this is the other type of people I find, they buy a boat, but they're always on somebody else's boat because that's a bigger boat and it's faster and they race with it or whatever. So they usually either end up time-sharing a boat. It's like, well, we only race and, there's no use of us putting money into two boats. We'll just put more money into that boat and it'll be the racing, it'll be kind of like, there's 10 people kind of join share a boat. Sometimes that doesn't work out very well either because a lot of people, when they become a crew of a boat and there's like 8 owners, and everybody's got equal share ownership, there's always somebody who wants to take the boat this way. The other person wants to take the boat in another direction, and usually they'll have a falling out. And then, well, no, you have to, here you buy out and buy us out or whatever, and it becomes a big problem. So you really have to know the people and the purpose of the boat. The other one is the people that buy boats that are just, they're just. They love the idea of it, but they don't have the time to put into it at all. And the boat sits there. You'll see this be like a guy, he buys a boat. It's been his dream to go sailing, but the wife is not in it at all. Like she just, she'll come, stand at oh, that's nice, and then want to go home, Take her out sailing once, and then never has time for the boat. That guy, he's not that common at the yacht club, but he is there. So if you're buying a sailboat, and there's some guys, they buy the sailboat purposely to get away from the wife. And some women do that too, purposely to get away from their husbands. Like I knew, it was surprising. The women were more passionate about the boats a lot of times than the guys, because they and you can always tell when a boat is owned by a female, because it looks nice all the time. This boat was previously owned by a female, and that's why the cushions are still good. You can tell that a guy's been in here for a while. I mean, this thing was like like you could eat it off the cabin floor here when I first bought it. Now it's a little bit more grungy, but I keep it fairly. But she put like a lot of work into keeping this thing, like a palace on the water, so to speak. But she used it a lot. But she had 3 other boats or something, and including a big boat. So that's why she sold this one off. And yeah, so the people that use their boats the most, believe it or not, are the family-oriented people that, It's cheaper than taking their kids to Disneyland. You know, and it's usually the people with the younger kids. Once they start getting into the teenage areas, the teens either they want to go out. If they're gonna stay around the yacht club, you have to put them in a sailing program where they go out and they start racing on the catamarans and the laser racing and all those skiff racing and stuff like that, where they can hang out with other teenagers. Otherwise, they're just bored on the boat, right? They're a cranky teenager, and you see that. So. The other people that use their boats a lot are usually, just like a single couple. They have a little dog or something like that. And like I say, they pretty much pack up the apartment for the summer and they're on the boat they're never away from the boat. They're either in the yacht club or they're on their boat. They're in the yacht club or on their boat. Those people, they could probably pay 10 times what they did for the boat and still get their money's worth at the end of the season. But the people that usually don't get their money was worth is probably, I would say, out of 500 boats that were, because there's roughly about 500 slips out in the Pean Club, I would say maybe 30% maybe use their boats on a weekly basis. I would say maybe 20% use the boat several times a week, and maybe 10% were, pretty much back and forth to the boat on a daily basis. The rest, the other 70%, were very sporadic. Sometimes, the guy, like you'd hear a guy in the club, man, I can't believe it. I only got out on the boat 4 times this year. Stuff like that. So did that guy really get his money's worth, But yet, it's one of those things that, but he's had the boat for like 12 years or something like that. And it's like, he's got so much money into it that it's not worth it to sell it off. And, he uses it from time to time. Then you have your retirees that they're like, okay, well, we put the boat in the water in case the kids, if they don't want to go to the cottage, they can go sailing. And then you have like 2 grandkids that are like, screw the cottage, I'm going sailing. And then the other ones, well, we're going to go have a party on the boat. The boat never leaves the dock, but it just becomes a party palace. So you got all kinds of people that you meet too, and they're all good people. There's no doubt about that. But it's just a lot of people though that 70% that just really gets no use out of their boat at all. Then you have in a yacht club, there's probably a good percentage, probably about 20% that never get their boat in the water. These people, they don't even get to the point where they can complain about putting the boat in the water and paying all that fees. They just never get there. These are the fixer-upper crowd. They've got no money to put into the boat, and they buy a boat that's just, needs so much work that it just becomes a, they just never get their money. And they usually give up after about 2 to 5 years. They're like, okay, that's it. I'm out of this. I just don't want to play anymore. And just can't afford it anyway. And you got that crew. These people, again, they usually end up getting like pink slips on the side of the boat saying, time's up, you've had 2 years to put the boat in the water. Some clubs will have things like that. They buy the boat and it's like, okay, that's fine, but to keep the boat here you have to be a member. So now the money that we're going to go to spend to fix up the boat, they now have to spend on membership, right? And a lot of these people, the reason why they end up in that bind is because they spent all their money on the boat that they had without considering the other running operational expenses. So then they're going paycheck to paycheck to try to just maintain ownership of the boat. Rather than the first thing you do before you buy any boat is where you're going to keep it. That should be the first thing. Excuse me. First thing you should consider is where you're going to keep it. But yeah, I'm going to leave this one. I've already went on a little bit longer than I wanted to, but getting your money's worth out of the boat. If you watch my channel a little bit more, I'll give you just again, I'm not an expert at any of this stuff, but I have experience with it a little bit, right? So I just can tell you my experience. And I know I see a lot of new sailing channels popping up, and I would love to, get the random out there. This would be the ultimate Jolly Roger of a pirate ship. I have a video coming up on how this boat got its name. It's pretty random. But anyway, it was a good story, so I'll be getting that one out to you. But yeah, to get your money's worth out of the boat, there's cost per use. You could do it that way. The other way is just how does it make you feel when you're doing it. But are you using it? That's the big one. That's the contemplation I'm at right now. Do I sell this thing off, or do I, because it's a 26 footer that's really big and very seaworthy for a 26 footer. So I'm at that point where I don't really need anything bigger for me, but if I want to go on bigger water, I want something with a little more water line. Not necessarily any roomier. Roomier is fine, but I would like something a little bit longer and whatever, and more ocean going abilities. But if I had to stick with a 26 footer, this is the one. This is the one. So it's kind of one of those things. And it also gets, if right now it doesn't cost me anything to own this thing. It's just sitting here at my, pretty much rent free here because of, it's family, my dad's place or whatever. But the thing is that if I ever want to put it back in the water again, I can. It's no problem to do that. I just got to come up with the fees. So I have that advantage, so that I'm not in a panic to get rid of it. And it's still in good shape for the year. It's starting to need work now. All boats need work at some point. But yeah, so for me, it's like to get rid of it. Right now, cash is tough for me because, like anything, finances can go up and down on a person all the time. So I can't really put any real serious money into it, but I don't know if I want to put serious money into it, because if I was going to do that, well, I'd rather go, get a 30-footer or not, eventually get a 30-footer. But if I'm not using it, you know what I mean? There's always a trade-off. So I don't know, just quick topic. Tell me what you guys think of your experience with your sailing. Did you get your money's worth? Did you not? I got some more tips and tricks coming up. It'll be a while before this thing goes back in the water, unless a miracle happens and whatever. But it's May now, so I wouldn't be able to get it into the water this year. It would have to be for next year anyway, probably just waiting on a slip, because usually most of the yacht clubs are full. Sometimes you get lucky. I'm going to go hunt out the yacht clubs just to see if there's a cheap one. There is some really cheap off-mooring stuff that you could do, but that has its own kind of problems, and maybe I'll make that my next video or whatever. Anyway, there we go. Have yourselves a great day, eh?